Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie and today I am making an adorable Kirby cake that has inhaled a car. This is called Mouthful Mode from an upcoming video game called Kirby and the Forgotten Land. If you love Kirby, I think you will love this cake too. Let's get started. This cake definitely needs to be pink on the inside, so this is a delicious homemade strawberry cake. You only need one 10-inch square cake for this project. I did bake some extra just in case, but really we just need the one 10-inch square. Take that 10-inch square cake and trim off the top, and also tort the cake by running the knife through the middle horizontally. You'll also want to cut it right down the center so that we have 4 rectangles of cake. What I have here is a special shaped cake board that I cut out, and I glued 2 boards together to make it extra strong. And this is a picture of the car from the game, which will be my template. By the way, you're going to need a few of those printed out. We're going to start by stacking up the 4 layers of cake and filling them with 3 layers of buttercream. I'm using American buttercream frosting, but use any kind that you like, sweet or not sweet. I have a few recipes here on my channel, which I will link below. Hold the templates up against a cake, one on each side, and begin trimming it to the exact car shape. Something to note about these templates is that I've already cut off the bottom portion of the wheel. We're not going to need that right now, so just continue carving until you're happy with the shape. My cake isn't quite tall enough, so I'm taking all those cake scraps that I just cut off, and I'm mixing them up into cake pop filling, and then I use that mixture to add some height to the top of the cake. I also need to create a space for the wheels, so I cut the wheels completely out of my template. I held it back up to the cake and then trimmed the cake to match. By the way, there are tons of car templates online, so if you are making something different, maybe a van or BMW, whatever it is, check online to see if you can find it first before you get started, because a template will make it so much easier. I'm pretty happy with the cake shape at this point, so I'm covering it in a layer of white chocolate ganache. If you prefer using buttercream frosting for this part, that will also work too. Let's decorate the cake drum to look like a road. I've already colored my fondant and mixed in some Tylose powder, so all I need to do is roll out the fondant, place it onto the board, smooth that out with my fondant smoothers, and then trim the sides. To create the grass, I rolled out a piece of green fondant, and then I tore away little pieces of fondant along the edge to give it that grassy look. And then I'm attaching those to the board as well. Making grass-like texture is super easy. For this one, I used a toothbrush that I use only for cake decorating and also an opened star tip, and both of those worked beautifully. To make it look more realistic, I dusted it with some different shades of green food color powder and also some black on the road. To elevate the car, I have glued together 6 cardboards. I actually only needed 5 though. And this is going to lift the car so that we can get the wheels in later. I then removed some fondant from the board, and then I glued the stack of boards directly to the cake drum. This stack of boards is not beautiful at all, so I'm going to try to conceal it with a strip of black fondant. And then you'll want to spoon some melted candy melts onto the stack of boards and then move the cake over on top of it very carefully. Make sure the cake is centered though. I thought mine was centered at this point, but later it started leaning to one side and I had to fix it, so be careful of that. Let's take a look at the picture of Kirby after he's consumed the car, and it looks like you can only see the blue parts of the car on the bottom and the rest is pink. So I'm rolling out a strip of blue modeling chocolate for the bottom portion of the car, and I attached that to the cake, and then I blended that top seam into the cake. I also added some blue crescent-shaped pieces of modeling chocolate for the front and back fenders. And while I'm here, I'm etching in the door detail. Small details like this make a really big difference, so don't skip those. After looking at it, I thought the crescent shapes I added above the tires were too big, so I went back and I trimmed those down. And this also created a ledge so that I would know where to cut the pink modeling chocolate later. Let's move on to the tires. These are made out of modeling chocolate, and I popped this whole black piece of modeling chocolate into the freezer for a few minutes so that it would harden and would be easier to get out of the circle cutter. So cut out 4 tires. And then I'm pressing the bottom of a bottle of food color gel into the center of the tire to create the hubcap. And then you can use any other circle cutters you have to define the hubcap. And if you want, you can create some tread on the sides of the tire, but you can hardly even see those, so I don't think it's that necessary. I then used Sweet Sticks silver paint to paint the hubcaps, and I set those aside to dry. Let's cover the top in Kirby pink modeling chocolate. I like using modeling chocolate because it tastes so good, and also it's really easy to blend the seams. However, you can also use fondant for this if you'd like. One thing to note about modeling chocolate is that it is very heat sensitive, so if you live in a hot climate, you might want to use fondant instead. Sometimes when I can't get a spot smooth in my modeling chocolate, I'll use my creme brulee torch really quickly near it to warm it up. Warmth is what helps with smoothing, and sometimes just the warmth from your hands is enough to help smooth out an imperfection. We have some details to add. I am adding triangles of modeling chocolate for the rear view mirrors. Use a modeling tool to blend those seams. My favorite tools for blending seams are from Innovative Sugarworks, and they are called sugar shapers. You can easily pick these up on Amazon. They're about $37 or so, and they are totally worth it. When I'm making tiny details like these fondant lights in the grille for the car, I like using fondant with Tylose powder mixed into it because when you make small details with modeling chocolate, it starts to melt in your hands. So switch over to fondant for small details. And then finish off the details with more silver edible paint. And don't forget Kirby's feet that are sticking out of the back of the car. The car looks old and rusty, so I made some paint by mixing some different shades of brown edible dust with a tiny bit of vodka. And then using an old paintbrush, I'm dabbing the paint around the cake. Messy is better here, so no need for perfection. The tires are dry now, so let's get those into place. I almost forgot to add Kirby's eyes. To make it easier on myself, I printed the eyes out on my edible image printer, and I stuck those into place on the front of the car. And then the final detail is Kirby's signature rosy cheeks. My Kirby mouthful mode cake is complete. What was great about this cake was that I got to cover the entire top in pink rather than making a ton of car details, so it turned out to be pretty easy but also pretty impressive. I'm really happy with how this one turned out, and I cannot wait to play Kirby and the Forgotten Land. If you need more Kirby ideas, I have also made a Kirby sitting on a star cake, and that one turned out so adorable, so go check that video out as well. And if you guys have any ideas for me, please let me know in the comment section. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.